Hi, it's Dennis Daly. Back in 1997, I got a phone call from Don Perlman. I had heard Don on radio for years. He worked for one of the big stations in Chicago. Don Perlman wanted to know if I wanted to cover the numismatic or coin convention in Long Beach, California. So off I went. Don Perlman led me over to where a man named Scott Travers was standing. Scott is known nationally as an author, an expert on coins, and one of the movers and shakers, if you will, of coin collecting. I wanted to ask Scott, first of all, about something my grandmother always said to me, and that's make sure that you look for a very, very valuable penny out there with the initials SVB on it. I asked him if those pennies are still out there in circulation.
Sure. Someone just found one of those in change at a local supermarket. In fact, the American Numismatic Association at its convention took a 1909 VDB Lincoln cent and actually placed it into pocket change to stimulate interest in coins. The S stands for San Francisco. That appears on the obverse or front of the coin. VDB refers to the designer's initials, Victor David Brenner, and that appears on the reverse or back of the coin. Hence, we call the coin the 1909 VDB Lincoln cent.
Well, now, I don't remember seeing 4 initials on a coin. Was that the only time that's happened? And in addition to the mint mark, we saw other things that makes that so rare?
Well, it's really not initials. The initials VDB are the designer's initials. Those appear on the reverse. The S appears on the obverse. So it doesn't appear together except in price guides and except where we refer to it that way.
So it's the regular San Francisco mint mark on the front for the striking of it, but his initials are on the back.
Absolutely. So it shows that you can actually find something in your pocket change by the ANA having spent this particular coin. There are people around here who have had people come into their stores and offices with extremely valuable rare coins. I mean, this man over here, James Halprin, who is a novelist in his own right, author of The Truth Machine from Random House and a renowned coin dealer. He's had a number of people come into his store and into his office in Dallas with coins worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, and they thought they were just worth pocket change. Why don't you tell one of the stories you told for 1 Minute Coin Expert about those proof sets that you thought
we had a collector brought in a run of proof sets that his family had.
Now let's define what a proof set is. We're dealing here with an audience for my show, some of whom really are starting at square one here.
Sure. Proof sets were issued by the Mint from 1858 through the present day. There was a hiatus between 1943 and 1949. But other than that, every year since 1858, the Mint has issued sets of United States proof coins. Actually, there was another hiatus, but
basically they've been issuing them for a long time.
They've been issuing them for the past 130 years with a few spaces. And these are specially minted coins with mirror surfaces, and they're double struck, and they look better than regular coins. And they tend to be preserved better because they're usually bought by collectors, not for the purpose of circulation. And this man had sets of them in his family for many years. His grandfather had bought them from the Mint. And he brought them in and figured that maybe they were worth 3 or 4 times face value, which would have been a few $100s. And we told him that they were worth well into 6 figures.
I know that my father died about 11 years ago, and 2 years ago, I cleaned out my mother's house. She went to nursing home. I was in such bad financial shape at the time, trying to clear out the house and everything. I took him down to the local coin dealer and got something like $37 a piece for them. I was absolutely surprised at these coins, which were minted after the turn of the century, I think. To me, they didn't seem that old, but they had a lot of intrinsic value. I guess what you're saying in all of this is that there's a lot of treasure around there sitting in our homes and drawers, whatever, that we may not know about.
Absolutely.
How about that 1943 bronze cent that you sold at the ANA sale? Tell me about that.
I was telling Don Perlman, whom I want to talk to here. Don is in charge of spreading the information, education, if you will, that as I was coming down here, I got into that situation, as a lot of people do, where I had to rob my piggy bank for lunch. And all of a sudden, in spreading out this huge amount of pennies I had, I thought, well, gee, I wonder if there's anything valuable in there, which had I not been coming down to do this interview, I wouldn't have even thought of.
People should look at their money. We're so used to seeing the same coin designs year after year, decade after decade, that we really don't recognize the historic symbolism on every piece of coin and currency. Money literally is history you can hold in your hands, and people should appreciate the money that they're holding and what it represents. Every coin that's ever been issued, every piece of paper money that's ever been issued has some story to tell, but we're not listening to it because it becomes second nature to us. We're more interested, what will it buy at the store, as opposed to what importance can it give me in my life and the history of my country or some other country.
Well, now here we are nearing the end of this century. What would be the oldest minted coin, date-wise, that you might still find in circulation that either has just face value or so little above that it's not worth turning in? I mean, would you find coins into the 30s or the 20s that are still out there in circulation?
You find coins such as wheat stalk Lincoln cents that are actually not worth turning in. Coins with very common dates from the 1950s. And a big mistake that people make when they're buying and selling coins is they think, people who don't collect coins think often that just because a coin looks different, just because the design is slightly different, that coin is valuable. It's not. But however, people should be careful. As a consumer advocate, I have to warn your listeners that they should buy coins which have been independently certified. They should get an opinion of an independent arm's length distance grading service when they're buying and selling rare coins. We have organizations that protect consumers, organizations such as the Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS, of which David Hall is the founder. These organizations encapsulate coins and sonically seal tamper-resistant holders and grade coins by consensus on a scale of 1 to 70, in which 1 represents a coin which is barely identifiable as to its type, and 70 represents a coin which is perfect, a coin with no nicks, no flaws, and no scratches on it. Well, David Hall over here is the man who pioneered the concept of independent certification of coins being placed in plastic slabs and assisting and aiding consumers so they can be certain if they're buying a coin for $1,000 and it's graded a certain way that's what it really is.
David, let me ask about that, but I have something I wanted to get into the conversation first here. I'm so full of questions today. Jim had mentioned that there was a hiatus in sending out proof sets, obviously during a period that was World War II. Is that where those funny-looking pennies come from that you sometimes see? Don't we have some coins, steel cents? Is that a common coin? Are they worth anything? Are there a lot of them out there still?
In 1943, they made pennies out of steel, and they looked like a gray, dull gray color. And you used to see them, 20 years ago. You really don't see them in circulation anymore. And they're worth, what are they worth, Don? 20 cents, 50 cents, something like that?
50 cents.
Yeah, something like
enough that if you're a beginning collector, it would be fun to try to find a few.
It'd be very exciting to find one in circulation.
What about the authentication process? I mentioned that when I was back home in Indiana several years ago, just for economic necessity, I had to trade in some old coins I had found. But I only had that one little coin shop to go to. What about a person's concern about getting a second opinion, or they live in rural America where they're out there and they don't have various means to see if they're getting the full value, whatever? What would you recommend for those people, and how does that relate to what you're doing?
Well, for coins, in fact, all collectibles fields, it's nice to get a second opinion. The coin market is leading the way with third-party authentication and grading services. We literally have a company that gives an independent, unbiased opinion of the quality and authenticity of a coin. In all collectibles fields, there is some problems with misrepresentation of the quality being a big component of value. And again, the coin market has led the way with these independent third-party grading services, which have been going on about 11 years now.
If a person finds old coins, should they try to clean them up? Should you bring them into the coin store as is? I mean, I saw those wonderful old silver dollars, and I thought, well, should I get some, not Brillo, but should I get some scouring powder, make a little compound, clean them up, dip them in copper cleaner? What do you do when you find them? Bring them in as is? Should you try to clean them unless they got mud all over them?
In the coin market, cleaning is actually a negative. So you shouldn't clean your coins. You should bring them into a coin shop, more than one coin shop. Get a second opinion. Don't touch the coins. Don't ruin them. And originality is a positive. So don't clean your coins.
Dave, how big a business is coin collecting? Don and the others here were mentioning that it's something we take for granted. Coins pass through our hands. They're part of the culture. Are a lot of people into this? Do you know how it compares to stamp collecting, for example? I know it's a very big hobby and a very big business.
Depending on how you define your terms, there are more people who collect stamps. However, there are more serious coin buyers. Many of the people who collect stamps only just buy the post office issues. There are about 500,000 people that actively buy old, rare United States coins, and the coin business is about a 500 million to 600 million end-user sale market. So you're talking about $500 million in sales to the public of rare coins a year.
There also are sports-related commemorative medallions and things like that, but various countries, including the United States, issue modern commemorative coins for example, we have the Jackie Robinson coin the U.S. Mint issued to honor the 50th anniversary of the first black American being in the baseball. So there are sports-related items that are out there. We've had Olympic commemorative sets that were issued to raise money for the Olympics. And various countries around the world regularly issue modern commemorative coins with all kinds of different topics involved.
How do private companies such as, and I'll mention the name I guess I'm most familiar with, the Franklin Mint, how do those kinds of companies fit into all of this? Is that a part of what we're doing here, Scott?
Not really. There's no aftermarket, unfortunately, for many of the Franklin Mint items. There's a significant aftermarket for high-quality United States coins. What collectors here are really interested in are coins which are in very high levels of preservation, coins with no nicks, no flaws, no scratches and imperfections on them, coins which have been independently certified by organizations such as the Professional Coin Grading Service, and coins which are scarce and have the potential of becoming rare, and coins which are rare and can get rarer.
I know there was a kind of a wonderful tradition my dad was telling me about, that he showed me several silver dollars which family members had given to him when he was a child that were minted in the year he was born. Has that died out? Do we still see that as part of family traditions in some places?
Sure, absolutely. We see many reasons for coins being collected. One of the leading reasons can be sentimental reasons. People can have a coin that's worth $1 million in sentimental value because it's a memento of a certain very special occasion.
Dave, this is such a huge hall here. We're at the Long Beach Convention Center, and this section is all dealing with coins. As I look around at some of the signs, I'm going to mention some of the things that catch my eye and have you comment on it. There's a whole section over there on ancient coins. These would be from the Roman, the Greek era, that kind of thing. How often do you see that, and is that a major portion of your business, or is it a kind of an offshoot of the whole picture?
It's an offshoot of the whole picture. Coin collecting has been around for 2,500 years. The Romans actually collected the Greek coins. But the fact is that most of the action is in the U.S. coin market. And I would say here on the floor there's probably a good, Jim, what would you say, $50 million worth of coins here on the floor?
At least.
At least $50 million worth of coins. And I think a good $15, $20 million worth of business will be done on the Bourse floor here this weekend.
Can we paint a picture of the average coin collector? I mean, do you tend to see more 46-year-old middle-aged men from the Midwest? Is there any common denominator, or is this across the board?
The common denominator actually is one of financial privacy. People who collect rare coins really, really prize their financial privacy. They don't want people to know what they're doing because in many cases coins, which are very small, are tremendous stores of value. So you can have a rare coin that's a $50,000 coin, and it'll be the size of a shirt button. And the difference in price between a coin grading 64 and its 65 counterpart can be many thousands of dollars, and that's something which David Hall and his firm PCGS are the experts in.
Yeah, David, tell us about that 1 to 70 scale that
I will,
He
but
mentioned
first
that. Go ahead.
I'd like to mention on that privacy issue, I was talking to a major coin retailer who related to me that in his opinion, 20% of his entire client base consisted of men who were trying to hide money from their wives.
Well, as Jim was saying, you can hide an awful lot in a small space. Don, who do we have here, and what area do we want to get into now?
The American Numismatic Association is, in effect, the world's largest coin club. There's about 29,000 members. It's an educational organization that holds conventions around the country. And James Taylor is the education director for the ANA. He single-handedly, in the last decade or so, has probably helped more people learn about the joy of collecting as well as some of the intricacies about sophisticated areas of collecting than anyone else I can think of.
I also will compliment you on the hat. The people at home can't see the wonderful hat you're wearing. Jim, let me start off, since you're talking about education here, and ask about the role of coins in dealing with young people, in giving them a sense of history. Can you talk to that?
Yes, I strongly feel that numismatics covers so many areas of civilization. It includes history, it includes politics, government, civics, it includes art, religion, so many aspects of history that it's a good way to introduce a child to all those different areas. Another thing, too, that I think is very interesting, there's a eminent child psychologist, Dr. Theodore Rubin, who wrote a book several years ago where he talks about the importance of training or raising our children to become patient. And he specifically recommends hobbies such as fishing and coin collecting as a way to train kids to learn how to become patient, and something that they are obviously going to need as they grow and try to grow into successful adults.
You know, I was thinking in preparing for this program that one of the things I am not is very well organized. Mm-hmm. And I've never had a hobby that required a degree of organization. I mean, model railroading is a wonderful hobby, but you can be just as sloppy as you want as long as the trains don't derail. What about that aspect of coin collecting? It would seem to give a person a great deal of focus in many ways.
And if you start a child out young and trying to complete a set or collection, they're going to learn organizational skills. They're going to learn management skills. They're also going to learn to handle their money, to become a little entrepreneurial, etc. So it teaches a lot of good qualities that I think we as parents want to impart to our children.
Who wants to address this? I keep focusing on small-town America because that's where I was from originally. We've heard from several people here who have said, get a second opinion, get a third opinion, that kind of thing. What is the role of the magazines in all of that, the publications that are out there to help a person who may not be in an urban area? Don?
It is very simple to buy and sell coins by mail. It is done every day, and there's an old expression, though, if you don't know your coins, you should know your coin dealer. And many people who live in smaller towns who cannot find a coin shop nearby or can't get to a major coin show buy and sell through the mail without any problem at all. But you should know who you're dealing with. For example, there's an organization called the Professional Numismatists Guild, PNG. It's a nonprofit organization. Some of the top rare coin and paper money experts in the country are members of this group. And they have a strict code of ethics on consumer protection, consumer education. So if you see an ad and the dealer's a member of PNG, you have pretty good assurances you're going to get exactly what you're paying for. The ANA also helps to try and educate people about the best way to buy and sell coins. So again, if you don't know your coins, you should know your coin dealer and to educate yourself before you go out and buy.
Jim, did you want to add to that?
We as an organization are dedicated for over 100 years to educating the public about the importance of numismatics and coin collecting, but also, too, we want to protect our members and non-members, too. And so we authenticate coins to guarantee that they are genuine. They're not counterfeits, so they've been altered. We do that as a service to our members and to non-members alike. And certainly that's one of our mandates, our congressional mandate.
Also, we mentioned the Professional Coin Grading Service. When PCGS was founded about 11 years ago, one of the goals was to give assurances to people who buy coins that what they're buying is an authentic coin and that the grade on there is going to be backed up by other dealers. And this is one of the founding concepts of David Hall with PCGS, was to make sure that if you're buying a coin and it turns out not to be what it really was, you're going to get your money back without a problem on that.
Let me ask you two a question. David, you're in the business. Don is a collector, and now he's working on the educational side. I want to ask each of you independently, how did you first get interested in coin collecting?
When I was 12 years old, my grandmother bought me a penny book, and like many people, I started putting pennies into the the book and searching through change. And within 2 years, I was going to the local coin shops, buying and selling coins. I got the bug early, and I got it hard.
Now, Don Perlman, I knew about you long before my association here at the Coin Convention, when you were heard regularly on one of the very big radio stations out in the Midwest. Was this something you started early on in life, something you picked up to calm your nerves later?
No, I was 8 years old and got interested in coin collecting by finding a bright, shiny penny in circulation. And I stayed with coin collecting until I was in high school, and then, like many teenage boys, I turned my attention to other things. And when I was in my early mid-20s, I got involved with coin collecting and became a born-again numismatist.
Now, that's a good tongue twister. Can we walk a little bit? I want to kind of sample, if I can, some of the other aspects. As I mentioned a couple of times, this is such a big show. Does a convention like this, Scott, happen very often? Is this a yearly thing? Is this one of the major shows?
The Long Beach Coin and Collectibles Expo is one of the premier shows in the United States, where hundreds of dealers gather to buy and sell and trade rare coins. There are also some other shows, such as the Convention of the American Numismatic Association, held annually in a different location each year. But the Long Beach show, which is held a few times a year, is certainly a major event and an important event, and one which gives dealers the opportunity to get together and do a lot of trading among themselves, as well as with the public. And through radio stations such as your own, which really perform an enviable public service by informing the public of a show of this magnitude, people are able to shop their coins from dealer to dealer and get competitive prices, whereas if they were to just go to a local dealer through the Yellow Pages, they might be offered a nominal price for a coin that's worth a lot more than just even a pretty penny.
It's interesting to look at the names over the booths here. Here's a group that's come all the way from Hawthorne, New Jersey. We have some local people here. Texas.
He's actually a major dealer. This dealer, Sal Germano, looks very low-key, but he's one of the largest volume dealers in the country.
Why don't you, can we talk to him for just a second?
Come over and talk.
Oh, come on, don't be Mike shy.
Yeah,
I'm Dennis Daly with UPI, and Scott is showing me around. If I can, let me just ask, how long have you been in this? And I presume you're seeing people who come from pretty great distances to be here.
Yeah, I've been here in the business. I've been around since 1979.
So you know what you're doing?
Hopefully, or else I wouldn't be around.
I can imagine how much security there must be here because of the worth of what's on the floor. What's the most rare coin you have here?
The most rarest one I have is that 1865 seated dollar, an proof 67.
Now that's, if I'm not mistaken from what David says, you grade on a scale of 1 to 70, so 67's in pretty good shape.
It is, and it's one of the finest known. In fact, it is the finest known for the date. It's worth like $50,000.
Just that one little coin.
Just that little one.
What are the odds of something like that still being out in circulation, or someone running across a coin? Do we know, for example, that this may be the only one like that?
Well, there's other 1865 seated dollars in proof, but this one is the highest graded one. Right now, it's the finest known.
I want to get a better... Scott, do you know which one he was talking about? Or want to get... Oh, right there. Let me scoot around here, even though I can't show the folks at home. Oh, my, I've never seen a dollar with that design on it. That's absolutely beautiful. Now, it's Saul or Sal? Sal. The temptation would be, even though we've talked about this a few minutes ago, if I found that at home, I would clean it. But they tell me don't.
Yeah, definitely don't clean the coin. It's like you should leave it original.
Even though it's got what that's natural. Yeah. It's like patina on copper, I guess.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, sir.
Actually, toning is considered by many collectors to be give a coin a work of art appearance, if you have a coin with peripheral tonation rings of different colors, different auction companies have actually brought the description of coins to a fine science, to where collectors really want coins with color, like we're looking at that coin there with an ocean blue periphery. One of the auction companies which is a pioneer in this descriptive process is Heritage Numismatic Auctions. And Steve Ivey, who's the co-chairman of the board of Heritage, was just telling me a fascinating story about collection which he'll be selling in early next year, which he expects to bring a tremendous amount of money. Steve, why don't you address that?
Yeah, you've got some coins here on the chart that go back to the 1700s, or at least one of them here.
Well, some of them do. Age really doesn't have a lot to do with the value of the coin. This particular collection actually was housed in the safety deposit boxes across the street from our office, totally unknown to us. The fellow died in 1972, and he left the coins to his wife, who just recently passed away. And one of their sons came and got the coins out of the safety deposit box, and since we were across the street, of course he knew who we were anyway, he brought them across the street and showed them to us. He thought the coins were probably worth about $300,000. They had been appraised after Donald Carter's death, who was the owner of the coins, in 1972 at about $100,000. Our appraisal, needless to say, was several multiples of what they thought they were worth, several $1 million.
I don't want to get off the track here, but I noticed that there were $3 coins at one time. There were $2.50 coins, 2.5 cents, which I guess came from the knocking down pieces of 8 or whatever. They had odd fractions. Has there ever been a push in this country to make, say, a $25 bill? I've always thought that Jim Taylor, I always thought that would be a fun thing to have.
I haven't heard of a $25 bill here, but there was a $25 bill in Canada to celebrate the 25th anniversary of King George's coronation, and it was a commemorative paper.
So people didn't go out and put new drawers in their cash registers. All right, one other thing, or two things. So many questions are running through my mind. You mentioned not all of these coins are really old, Steve.
Right.
What would be an example of a not very old coin that has begun to have value?
Well, like the 1955 penny that was struck twice, and it's called a double die penny. They were made, like I said, in 1955. They were misstruck. They were released in Boston. As part of the regular sense.
Bad quality control.
Bad quality control, exactly.
It's like the upside-down stamp, the one with the airplane flying upside down.
Very, very similar to that.
We also have something that's really quite recent. The U.S. Mint sold a set called the 1997 Botanical Garden set. And in that set is a Jefferson nickel. And that Jefferson nickel that looks very similar to most Jefferson nickels you'd find in pocket change, and it bears the year 1997, and it has a matte finish to it, is now worth about $300.
Well, I better go through my change. What about the Susan B. Anthony? How do coin experts look at that? I have heard that the cigarette and the soft drink manufacturers wanted a nice, neat dollar coin, but the darn thing looks like a quarter.
You're mispronouncing it. Collectors call it the Susan B. Agony dollar.
Oh, okay.
The Susan B. Anthony dollar originally started out without Susan B. Anthony on it, and the U.S. Mint's original conception was an updated version of Miss Liberty from the late 1700s, what our classic U.S. coin designs used to look like, but given a 20th century look. Unfortunately, it became a political issue as to what the design would be on there. It was designed by a committee. By the time Congress got through with it, it's fine to honor Susan B. Anthony. We have no problem about that. But by the time they finished with the design, it resembled a quarter to many people. Every other country in the world has learned the lesson that the United States government provided them. When England came out with a round pound, a £1 denomination coin, Canada had the loonie dollar with a loon on it, Australia had a $1 denomination coin. They all learned the mistakes the U.S. made, and they made their coins gold-colored and distinctively different from anything else in circulation. They also, when the coin was released, they stopped printing the paper money with the same denomination. So it forced people to use the coin.
And in many cases, you see coins that are multi-sided. They're dodectagonal or something. If they'd put out the Susan B. and made it have 14 edges or something, that would have in a way, differentiated it from the quarter.
But then you'd have problems with the vending machine industry. They'd have to redo their machines. The Susan B. Anthony dollar does have 11 sides inside the rim so that the visually impaired can tell that it's a different coin. People who can't see very well had no problem distinguishing a Susan B. Anthony dollar from a quarter dollar. It's the rest of the world that can see, but they weren't paying attention to what they were seeing.
We are at the Coin Collecting Expo at the Long Beach Convention Center, and as I was getting ready to leave, I ran into Margaret Olson, who has a wonderful book about something a lot of us don't know about. That's palladium coins.
We finally started covering the U.S. coins that will be coming out. The Platinum American Eagles will be coming out the end of September.
Now, is what you're wearing there as a necklace an example? It's awfully shiny.
It's very shiny, and this is the proof platinum coin. This is the $50 proof platinum coin that's about a half an ounce of platinum. And the Mint put this out June 6th of this year. And it's the uncirculated versions that'll be coming out now, the rest in the fall.
How do platinum coins fit in with gold coins? I mean, I really had never heard of a platinum or palladium coin until I heard about your book. But yet we've all heard of gold coins.
Well, this is the first time the U.S. Mint has made platinum coins. So they are making 4 sizes. And in the past, the only thing they've ever tried in platinum was a pattern piece that they made back in 1814. And a pattern piece is just something to test and see if they might want to do it. And they decided to scrap that. So this is the first time we've done it. And the 1 ounce coin will be $100 face value denomination, and will probably sell for between $450 to $500 depending on the price of platinum. We have some people who collect platinum and palladium. We have some United States collectors who collect the gold American Eagles, the silver American Eagles, and now the platinum American Eagles. And then other countries produce platinum coins, Australia, Canada, and they produce $100 coins, and the U.S. is trying to compete with that market right now.
Now, do you have a covering over that? Is that being protected? I can't imagine wearing it around and getting it scratched.
That wouldn't be advisable, so this one is protected on both sides. So everybody who wants to see it, they don't get their fingerprints on it.
Margaret, thanks a lot. Let me finish up by asking Don one question. And I've alluded to this before, but in your dealing, particularly with young children, what is the reaction like when the light bulb goes on top of their head when they realize that this is more than just the coin of the realm?
Well, every youngster studies history in school. And I've shown sometimes with my son and with friends, they're studying the Civil War. So you show them a 2-cent denomination coin, copper coin about the size of a U.S. quarter dollar, from 1864. It has, for the first time on a circulating coin, the motto, "In God We Trust," a direct result of the Civil War and the strife in this country. A minister suggested we need to bring the country together, and so it suddenly makes sense. Here's a coin that dates back to what they just studied in school. And then you can show that every piece of coin and paper money is related to something that they either have studied in school, are studying, or will eventually perhaps study. And there's something that they can relate to right in their hand.
I must say, this is the biggest entourage I think I've ever walked around with. I want to thank Don. Let me read the names here. Don, Scott, James, Margaret, and Steve. It's a wonderful show here. We could probably spend about 10 hours, but I'm going to let you all go back to what you're doing, and thanks for the invitation to be here.
Thanks for coming to Long Beach.
Thank you, Dennis. You performed an enviable public service by bringing people to the show.
Thank you, and you should be a politician. Yes. The first thing I did after doing that show when I got back to my apartment was to go through all my coins. I'm Dennis Daly.